Alright, we're going to be seeing a collector box today, and I'm hoping that we see that sweet, sweet serialized card because I love me some Rebecca Gay art, and I think most people will agree that her art is very gorgeous, but specifically because it is on the Bitter Moon Bearer, very anticipated hot card of this set. I definitely think it has a strong potential, but I'm also excited to see the other cards that come out of these boxes. Right. So collector packs are way different than play boosters. Play boosters have 30 packs in them, whereas collector boxes only have 12 packs in them. I do believe that they do have a pull tab here, so I'm not going to bore through the commons and uncommons. I'm just kind of going to get to what is really great and what we're all looking forward to the most anyways. So bear with me as I struggle with this first pack, and hopefully the rest of them go a lot smoother. Alright. The same kind of deal. I'm going to separate them out by color to make it a little bit easier for sorting purposes later. Gnarl Bark Elm. Got an Eclipsed Elf. Alright, our first rare is High Perfect Morcant. We got Massive Mysteries in non-foil from the Commander set. Abigail, Eloquent First Year. She's got Flying, First Strike, and Lifelink. When Abigail enters, up to one other target creature loses all abilities. Put a flying counter, a First Strike counter, and a Lifelink counter on that creature. There's a very good black artifact 4/1 creature that people are kind of speculating on that being very good with. Extended art Mirror Mind Crown, and an extended art foil of Champion of the Clanchin, with our foil token being a treasure token and a Kithkin. Alright. I'll tell you, I'm excited mostly because I really like foil cards, but also because having the chance to potentially hit something serialized would just be the icing on the cake, right? Chaos Spewer, Flaring Cinder, Blossom Bind, Flame Breeder. We got a fancy Eclipsed Marrow, and a Deep Channel Duelist, as well as a Clanchan Festival. Foil Island, Rhymefang Torque, 1 and a blue. As this artifact enters, choose a creature type. Whenever a permanent you control of the chosen type enters, put a charge counter on this artifact. Remove 3 charge counters from this artifact. When you cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. Pretty strong. Elemental Spectacle from the Commander deck. Spry and Mighty. This is just a fancy artwork, and it says choose 2 creatures you control, draw X cards, and the chosen creature gets +X/+X, where the and gains trample until end of turn, where X is the difference between the chosen creature's power. We got a Grub in the extended art. Legendary creature Goblin Warlock. It's got Menace, and whenever this creature enters, you may, oh, I see the thing behind it, and I know it's going to make a lot of people upset. I think I know what it is. Yeah. At the beginning of your first main phase, you may play a red to transform it. And if you do, you get Grub the Notorious Auntie. It's Menace, and whenever Grub attacks, you may Blight 1. If you do, create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of the blighted creature, except it has at the beginning of this end step, sacrifice this token. It's pretty strong. Good with Menace. And the sweet, sweet Hexing Squelcher. This card has caused such an uproar for our CDH community. Everyone is very excited to see what it can do, but I know a lot of players are just not excited to play against it. I, for one, think that it is still a strong card. I wouldn't say it breaks the game, but it definitely makes the game a lot more interesting for red. And honestly, mono red does kind of need something in its pocket. It doesn't really have much outside of the occasional swat. And yeah, it has a few other just, you know, Treasonous Ogre, a few other odds and ends that can definitely make it a lot more powerful. But as someone who has just kind of branched my way into the CDH realm, I won't speak too much more on it, as I don't want to act like I know everything, because I sure don't. And I definitely believe that while some of the complaints are justified, I think it's going to cause a lot more discussion, which I'm all for. I would rather have people talk about these things and kind of see where it lands and see where it ends up going. First foil, Mythic Moon Shadow. This is the new, what's being quoted as the new Death Shadow. I like this slightly more so because it enters with -1/-1 counters instead of it being a consistent -X/-X. It's got Menace, and it's a 7/7. So it comes in with 6 -1/-1 counters, and then whenever one or more permanent cards is put into your graveyard from anywhere while this creature has a counter on it, remove the -1/-1 counter from it. So just good, strong. If you're going to be self-milling a lot, it just seems like it'll be very good. Rain-Slicked Copse. This is one of the new cycling lands in extended art. Goliath Daydreamer. This is the one where you can exile spells with dream counters on them, and then when it attacks, you can copy them, or you can cast one without paying its mana cost. So very strong. All right, we got one of the Flip Shock lands. This has got both the morning side and the evening side. I really like what they did with the night side. It looks really cool, and I am hoping that we see some foils because these are just super pretty to look at. Flittering Nuisance is our foil fancy. Comes in with a -1/-1 counter on it, and you can pay 2 and remove a counter from this creature. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw a card. So just being able to add that effect in is very strong, and being able to have it on a dude that you could potentially repeat should you get another blight counter or -1/-1 counter on it, it's just going to be good in general. So definitely like it for blue. Sad it's not a wizard. Happy that it does a little bit more for the rogue archetype. And of course, fairies. Liminal Hold. Hopefully all of the little changeling cards, or all of the shapeshifter cards with their common variety, will do something interesting in the limited format. I'm excited to see what it can do for sure. Eclipsed Realms and foil, Eclipsed Knight, Boggart Cursecrafter, and a Forest. Got a foil Bloodline Bidding, which is the new Patriarch's Bidding. Eventide Shadow. Remove any number of counters from among permanents on the battlefield. You draw cards and lose life equal to the number of counters removed this way. So it does say among permanents, meaning if you're trying to remove your opponent's +1/+1 counters, you can do that as well. Just be careful though, if you remove too many, you might end up killing yourself. Winnowing, the Convoke board wipe that lets you choose a creature that player controls, then each player sacrifices all of their creatures they control that don't share a type with the chosen creature they control. So if they're not in kindred decks, it doesn't work out well for them. Deceit, the blue-black evoke elemental. When this creature enters, a blue-blue is spent to cast it. You can return up to one other target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. And if black-black was spent, target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a non-land card from it, and that player discards a card. Champion of the Path, an extended art foil. An additional cost of the spell, behold an elemental and exile it. Whenever another elemental you control enters, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. When this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exile card to its owner's hand. Foil Merfolk and a foil Worm. You know, for these pull tabs, they're not terrible, but they don't exactly pull all the way down like I would want them to. It's kind of unfortunate. Alright. Box Leather's Embrace. So fancy. So shiny. Got a Plains in the Nighttime variant. Kinscar Sentry. First strike and lifelink. When this creature attacks, you may put a creature card with mana value X or less from your hand onto the battlefield tapped and attacking, where X is the number of attacking creatures you control. Pretty good for Kithkin. Puka's Covenant. Whenever a creature you control dies, with a counter on it dies, you may return another target permanent card with mana value less than or equal to that number, the number of counters on that creature from your graveyard to your hand. Do this only once each turn. Twilight Diviner in the fancy art. Collective Inferno. And we got a Moon Shadow in the fancy foil. Love the look of this. The stars on the back, this just looks really wonderful, and I'm sure the camera can only do it some justice, but it looks very, very pretty. All right, almost halfway through here. Hopefully we're gonna get some more box openings done soon and get that up. Battery life is a thing, so we always gotta be wary of that and make sure we try to get through things as much as we can. Eclipsed Marrow. Swamp. We got a foil Sanar Innovative First Year. The Aberrant Return. Put 1, 2, or 3 target creature cards from graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. Each of them enters with an additional -1/-1 counter. So for 6, it's pretty strong. Dream Harvest. Endblaze Epiphany. And a borderless, well, excuse me, extended art foil high perfect Morcant. With a Scarecrow and a copy token in foil. So it's interesting, the commander deck tokens can come in foil, but only from collector boosters, as can the art cards. Art cards can no longer come in regular boosters, as you saw in our previous play booster box video. So we'll see if we get any of the sweet gold stamped ones. Hopefully it'll be a really cool artwork. Rooftop Percher, Rooftop Percher. Unbury, Pitiless Fists. Gut Splitter Gang. Champion of the Weird. As an additional cost to the spell, behold a goblin and exile it. You can pay 1 life and blight 2. Target opponent blights 2. Activate only as a sorcery. When this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exile card to its owner's hand. Pretty strong. Definitely think it's got some place in goblin decks that are running black. Got Dread Tiller. Comes in with a -1/-1 counter. Whenever a -1/-1 counter, whenever a creature with a -1/-1 counter on it dies, you may put a land from your hand on the graveyard on the battlefield tapped. We got an Ajani Outland Chaperones, the other planeswalker in the set. Creates a 1/1 green and white Kithkin creature token for its plus. It's -2 as it deals 4 damage to target tapped creature. It's -8. Look at the top X cards of your library where X is your life total. You may put any number of non-land permanent cards with mana value 3 or less from among them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Really good if you're Sun Titan focused. We got an Ashling Rekindled in the fancy art. Oh, and love that Rhyme-bound artwork. That just looks so cool. We got a Meek Attack, not in the Shattered, but still pretty cool. It's the enchantment and pays 1 of red. You may put a creature card with total power or toughness, or 5 or less from your hand onto the battlefield. That creature gains haste in the beginning of your next turn step. Sacrifice that creature. Very good. All right, so we're halfway through this box. We've seen, hopefully not the best, but we have seen a Shockland, and hopefully we'll see at least 2 more. Maybe potentially in foil, maybe potentially a serialized card, who knows. Appeal to Urdu, Midnight Tilling, Foraging Wickermaw, Mud Button. We got a Thoughtleft Lieutenant in foil, and fancy. Requiting Hex, and a Plains. Taste of Wares. When this creature enters, target opponent reveals X cards from their hand, where X is the number of goblins you control. You choose one of those cards, that player exiles it. If an instant or sorcery card is exiled this way, you may cast it for as long as you control this creature. Mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. Wickersmith's Tools in extended art. Sunderflock. 7 and 2 blue. The spell costs X less, where X is the greatest mana value among elementals you control. It has flying, and when this creature enters, if you cast it, return all non-elemental creatures to their owner's hands. I think there are a lot of large elementals that are not just in standard, but in general. So this reliably costing 3 to 4 seems pretty realistic. Aurora Awakener in the fancy. And Tristan's Command in the fancy foil. Create a token that's a copy of target elf you control. Very powerful. Return 1 or 2 target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. Destroy target creature or enchantment. And creatures target player controls get +3/+3 until end of turn. Untap them. So it's a more expensive command, but given the much more enhanced effects that it does, yeah, I can see why that costs 6 as opposed to 3. Elf sorceries are back once again. Reckless Ransacking, Blighted Blackthorn, Eclipsed, Vinebred Brawler, and a Nightmare Sower. Got a Champion of the Perfect, Whenever you cast a creature spell, draw a card, and when this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to its owner's hand. The exiled card being the elf that you had to behold, the elf that you had to behold. It's quite good. Springleaf Parade. Grub's Command. This is the Goblin one. Choose 2, create a token that's a copy of target goblin you control. Creatures you target player controls get +1/+1 and gain haste until end of turn. Destroy target artifact or creature, or target player mills 5 cards, then puts each goblin card milled this way into their hand. Selfless Safe Rate and Extended. Flash Convoke. When this creature enters, choose a creature type. Other permanents you control of that type gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. And Kinsbill Cavalry. This is one of the special guests that you can get from the set. I believe the foils are specifically exclusive to Chimera. Oh, we did get a signed art card for Farafor Young Yu from Jesper Eisen. Very nice. But yeah, Kinsbill Cavalier. That's our special guest foil. Moving right along. Coming up on the last couple packs here. For this first collector box. Changeling Wayfinder. Got the Thirst for Identity in foil. Glam Grifter. Deep Channel Duelist. This is the Lord that lets you untap Merfolk at your end step in Fancy. Gloom Ripper. This creature enters, target creature you control gets +X/+0 until end of turn, and up to 1 target creature an opponent controls gets -0/-X until end of turn, where X is the number of elves you control plus the number of elves in your graveyard. It's really good if you're doing elves in both places. Sinister Gnarlbark. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card and Blight 1. I feel like this card is going to be very strong. Being able to just draw a card at end step for 3 mana seems pretty good. Raiding Schemes. Champion of the Perfect. And Brigid. Clatchand's Heart. We got the Bitter Bloom Bearer by Terran Knight. And it's the art card. And this transforms into Brigid Doan's Mind. And it taps to add X green or X white, where X is the number of other creatures you control. So she won't count herself, but she will count everything else. Still, very cool card. Alright, next to last pack. Got a Stalactite Dagger. Forest Erdu, Carrier of Dawn. I like this card. This is creature spells you cast have Convoke, and at the beginning of your first main phase you may pay a black, and if you do, transform Erdu. It's got Flying and Lifelink itself for 5 mana, which I think is fair, and it keeps that on its backside, but it says each other non-token creature you control has Persist. So this is going to be very interesting to see what it can do, just based on a white-black sacrifice or aristocrat style deck. I feel that with the Persist being something that people aren't really used to seeing, those -1/-1 counters can have a very profound effect, and maybe people won't realize how good it or potentially bad it could be, but I think it will be interesting to see what it does. We got extended art Grave Venerations, Lorwyn, Imperfect Naturalist and extended art, Mutable Explorer, and an Overgrown Tomb in foil. So this is one of the cards I was speaking of earlier, where they have 2 sides to them. You've got the morning side and the night side. The night side is way more reflective of the swamp side of it, whereas the day side is more reflective of the forest with the nice foliage as well as the good floral decorations. These cards are super sweet. I really like them a lot. I think they did a great job. This is such a unique take on Shocklands, and I think it's one of the first ones that I've actually been a big fan of in many, many moons. Wasn't a huge fan of the Galaxy foils, not knocking anybody who does like them, but for me personally, I did not like the way that the dots looked all across the foiling, and these just look so much cleaner, and in my opinion, that much better. But that's me. Keep Out, Stratosaur. So shockingly, we didn't see that many shockingly. We didn't see that many Shocklands in this box. But we also did get the Hexing Squelcher, so can we really be upset? Nah, I think it was a pretty strong box, all things considered. Deepway Navigator, oops. When this creature enters and tap each other merfolk you control, and as long as you attack with 3 or more merfolk this turn, merfolk you control get +1/+0. Seems okay. Be able to kind of do that as a combat trick, and it's not legendary, so you can run multiple. Off-Nap Goat, Sanar, Innovative First Year and Extended Art, a Hexing Squelcher in non-foil this time, and a Twilight Diviner as our last rare of the box. Alrighty. And that's what a collector box looks like on average. We're gonna do some cleanup and we'll get back to you. Hope you enjoyed this opening. Here we go again. As you've seen the first one, we're just gonna move through, talk about the important cards, do a little sorting, and try to get through this before the camera dies. So in the last video we saw the pull tab wasn't exactly working as well as I wanted it to, so we're just going to open from the bottom like we did moving forward. About to get to the spicy. We got an Overgrown Tomb foil. Sodden Verdure, Selfless Safe Right, Mirror Mind Crowned Extended, Twilight Diviner, the Gilder. We have an elemental token in the back. Sorry if the angling of the light is not good. I want to try to make sure y'all can see it. That looks a little bit better. It's kind of hard to read the name though. Graveshifter. Deep Channel Duelist. Alright, here comes the spice. We got a Selfless Safe Right. A Belonging. Rating Schemes. Glenalinder Answer. Very excited about this card. And a second Hexing Squelcher. It is only a rare, so I shouldn't be shocked that we're seeing it a lot. However, can we see some other ones? I know I would like to see some variations, not just the same thing over and over again. Unless it was a bunch of serialized cards, in which case that'd be pretty great. Mud Button Curse Tosser. Right, here comes the juice. We've got a Steam Vents. Doing really good on Chalkland so far. Champion of the Perfect, Bloom Tender, and a Flitterbeam Nuisance. The art card. Stratosaur, Colrath Mystic, Midnight Tilly. More Cancelalus, Incoming Juice, Figure of Fable, Sinister Narback, Lorwyn, Mutable Explorer, and Champion of the Path. Wandermind Distractor. Deep Channel Duelist. Right, Incoming Spice. Morning Song Aria, or Morn Song, I did it again. Springleaf Parade, Sanar, Blood Crypt with the dual face. So nice. High Perfect Morkant. So with the Shocklands, we've noticed that the foil is a little bit more foggy, kind of. It almost appears kind of blurry, which is really awkward because the non-foil does not have that problem. And these are definitely lands that most players like to have in foil if they possibly can. Not all, but most. Rhyme Chill. Got an Ashling, Ferrophore Young You, another Hexing Squelcher, Spry and Mighty, and Ashling Rekindled. It's the double face foil. Very fancy. Oh, this one's signed. That's nice. Bark of Doran incoming. Grub's Command. Eventide Shadow. Champions of the Shoal. Spinerock Tyrant. And Wistfulness in the extended art foil. Or borderless, I guess, showcase. And then this one's signed. My Iris Compiet. Bind, Chris Gutman, Silvergear Montour, that card we just saw. Alright, Scuzzback Scrounger, The Reaper, King No More, Catharsis, big fan, Champion, Rhino Warrior, and an Elemental token. So again, those foil tokens, you'll find those tokens in the Commander deck, but you can only get foil copies of them out of Collector decks. Cannot find them in the regular product. Run away together. Kindle the Inner Fire, Springleaf Drone, Eclipsed Elf, Boggart Mischief, Plains. We've got a Twilight Diviner, Subterfuge, Harmonized Crescendo, Dorn Besieged by Time, and Tristan's Command. Creekwood Safe Right, Thoughtwolf Lieutenant, love that artwork, Bloodcrypt Foil, very nice, Elemental Spectacle, Champion of the Path, and a Goblin Chieftain. That's our special guest foil. Seems to be on average about one special guest card per pack that's foil, per box. That's for collector anyways. Play boosters is definitely going to vary and a lot more so. Eclipsed Elf, Requiem Hex, Eclipsed Boggart. Alright. Aurora Awakener, Jubilation, Steam Vents double-sided. Very nice. Tristan, and Spinerock Tyrant in the fancy showcase. Really cool. Okay. Alright, last pack of this box. I'm going to zoom right on to the next one. Blight Rot, Rooftop Butcher, Whistle Informant, Dawnblessed Pendant. Oops. Okay, here we go. Marilyn, Wickersmith's Tools, Sunderflock, Grub's Command, and Soul Immolation is our final one. Alright, next one. All gas, no brakes, as it were. Bogger Curse Catcher. Okay, here we go. Raiding Schemes. Six Command. Tam. Scuzzback Scrounger. Those are fancy. Twin Flame Travelers. Alright. Cinderflock and Foil. Village Pillage. Morningtide Light. Sonar. Jubilation, Carol, Chronicle of Victory, and Harmonized Crescendo. Chronicle is a very good card, given how many kindreds they just gave a whole bunch of buffs to. Rigid and Catharsis. Those are fancy elemental. I wonder if they're going to do one of those for box. Probably not. I feel like the first time we didn't really see a fancy elemental. Right. Eclipsed Marrow and the fancy. Got another Tam, very good card. Overgrown Tomb. So pretty. And Brigade's Command. No signature. Tristan, Subterfuge, Taster of Wares, Slumbering Walker, Painter's Servant. That's one of the more sought after special guest foils. Squawk Roaster. You think that might have something to do with roasting a bird? It does not. Disruptor of Currents, Abundant Countryside, Goliath Daydreamer, Winnowing, Inblaze Epiphany. Seen it a couple times now. Hopefully it's a good enough spell. Time will tell. I promise all this unintentional rhyming is not something I want to do constantly. Lasting Tarfire, right? Hexing Squelcher, Eventide Shadow, Twilight Diviner, Collective Inferno, and Sig's Command. It is a really pretty artwork for Sig's Command. I do like that quite a bit. Card's okay. I think it was in Tribal Instant. Or excuse me, Kindred Instant. I've been playing this game a long time and remember the first go round when it was Tribal, but I appreciate that Wizards has corrected themselves and turned it to Kindred, because that makes way more sense. Oh, that one was green, right? No Time Plains. We got a Bloom Tender foil, very nice. Puka's Covenant, Soul Emulation, Hollowed Fountain with a double slide. So pretty. And the Harmonized Crescendo, not as a fractured foil, just as a super foil. Definitely don't hate the artwork for that one. It's very pretty, very blue. Blues are some of my favorites. Barbed Bloodletter. Wretched Wretch. And the Day Plains. Breathe. Massive Mysteries. Dream Harvest. Endblaze Epiphany, and Blood Krypton foil with the double-sided foil. See how it looks a little blurry? But yet on the non-foil we saw not so much. Now on the backside though, the flames really do pop. Alright, last two packs of this box. Still hoping for a serialized card. Don't know if we're going to see it. Regardless, any Bitter Bloom Bearer is just good to see at this point. Glenelender Guardian, Grave Venerations, Flitterwing Noose, Gloom Ripper, Winnowing. Those are fancy. Alright, last pack of this box. We've got two more to go. Boulder Dash, Island. We got Lewin in foil, Rainslicked Cops, Champion of the Clanchan, Glenelender Guardian, and Devoted Druid. Two special guests. Very nice. Pretty good. That was pretty solid. The Hexing Squelchers definitely made that. Alright. Box number 3 incoming. Ignore the tower of boxes that are falling on the side. Moonlit Lamenter, Lofty Dreams. Here we go. Formidable Speaker foil. Massive Mysteries, Grub's Command, Temple Garden, double-sided. Very nice. And Glenelender Guardian, this time in not the shattered foil, but the fancy one. Granted, we haven't seen the shattered foil, we have seen the framework foil. Right. Elder Auntie. Nameless Inversion. Here we go. Kin Binding. Like I said, kind of the sister to Cathar's Crusade. Tam and Bree. Might be pronounced Bray, actually. Hard to say. But I'm gonna say Bree. Mostly because I know somebody named Bree. And she's wonderful. Barter Curse Crafter, alright, here we go. Shadow Urchin, Grave Venerations, Raiding Schemes, Blood Crypt in the double side. So pretty. And then there's the Deceit in the fancy frame this time. Super cool. I don't think we've seen the green-white elemental yet, if there is one. I feel like there would be. I feel like they did one for each of the colors that they did a Shockland for. Hopefully we'll see it. Twin Flame Travelers. Alright. Winnowing. Wickersmith's Tools. Champion of the Perfect. Lorwyn, and Sig. I'm sure the camera can only do it so much justice, but this does look really, really cool. I'm not even a huge Merfolk player, and I would play this card just because of how pretty it is. See what I said about the pull tab and it only coming off in that corner there? That's why I just do it from the bottom. Hobble her, Pyrrhic Strike. Okay. Got a Collective Inferno in foil, Sod and Verdure, Mutable Explorer, Sunlar, and Champion of the Weird. I feel like we've seen a bunch of good cards in the last like 3 packs, so seeing non-fancy art for once is kind of interesting. Also no shock. Silvergill Peddler, Kindle the Inner Flame, Prismatic Undercurrents. Here we go. Soul Immolation, Belonging, another Hexing Squelcher, Spry and Mighty, and Shadow Urchin. That's a big oof. It's not that big of an oof, but it's bigger than most other oofs we've seen. Most oofs have the nice 1-2-2-2 stat line. So being a 3-4 is kind of nice. Out of bolt range. That's the important part. Alright. Grub's Command, Lamentation, Goliath Daydreamer, a Johnny Outland Chaperone, and another Painter Servant. Okay, that's pretty wild. 2 in the same case. Let's keep going. Glamourmite, Timid Shield Bearer, Personify. Alright, got Bridget, Springleaf Parade, Winnowing, Twilight Diviner, and Collective Inferno. No signature. Blossom Blind, Eclipsed, and Eclipsed Kithkin. Morning Song Aria, Eventide Shadow, Grub, a Hollowed Fountain, and Adept Water Shaper. 3 more packs to go in this box, and then we're on to the last one. we go. Scuzzback's Grounder, Puka's Covenant, Collective Inferno, Dream Harvest, and Aurora Awakener, fancy foil. 7 mana, it's still a lot, but definitely a good chance that it does something, as it does just put those permanents into play. I personally like to set it up in a Bant deck to do 3, but before I do its ability, or let its ability resolve, cast Congregation at Dawn, so I can set my top 3 cards to be 3 creatures that will probably end up winning me the game. Won't always be that way, but it's a good setup. Alright, Emptiness, very nice, very pretty. Elemental Spectacle, Endblaze Epiphany, Boom Shadow, and Disruptor of Currents, with Bitter Bloom Bearer as the art card. That's not what I want. I want to see a Bitter Bloom Bearer. Okay. Ramble back. Last pack of box number 4, or 3, excuse me. Spell Snare, wonderful reprint, and here we are. Twilight Diviner, Dreadtiller, Flitterwing Nuisance, Deceit and Non-Foil, and Collective Inferno. Very nice, with our signature card being the Fire Covenant. Alrighty. Last one, here we go. Wish us luck. It could even be in the way where it's so happy for you, even though you're just jealous. That's fair. I too am jealous of the things that we open sometimes. Deep Channel Duelist, Puka's Eye, Morkan's Loyalist, Plains, here we go, Champion of the Weird, Sodden Verger, Kin Binding, Figure of Fable, and Marilyn, an extended art foil. Wary Farmer, Gold Nomad, Blossoming Defense, nice reprint, Thirst for Identity, right, Formidable Speaker, Elemental Spectacle, Lava Leaper, Champion of the Weird, and Dawnhand Dissident. See how well the Blight mechanic works with counter removal in Standard, just to see if it's going to do anything. I think it'll definitely set the precedent for some counter removal in Strixhaven, I would assume. Lyssalana Dignitary, Wretched Wretch. Alright, going to the juice, got a Kin Binding, Subterfuge, Ashling's Command, Aurora Awakener, Bitter Bloom Bearer in the fancy but not serialized frame. Definitely one of my favorite cards of the set. And can't wait to play it. Mostly in Sephiroth, which I know most people are going to groan at, but you know what? I like what I like, and I am a big fan of the Aristocrat strategy. I have been for a very long time. It used to be Ayara, and then they printed Sephiroth, and I said, oh, well, that's disgusting. Granted, they could have just done an in-universe card that would have been just as cool. Bristlebrain Babbler, Bree of Clan Stoutarm, and a Spine Rock Tyrant. That is the art card for Bloom Tender. Hopefully we'll see one of those in the fancy frame. That would be really cool. Oops. Stoic Grove. Never Shrike's Gift, Gut Splitter Gang, Virulent Emissary. Alright. Got a Winnowing, Dread Tiller, Disruptor of Currents, Bridget's Command, and Meek Attack. Good luck to you if you have not yet gotten your boxes yet. Good luck on your pre-release if you're going to one. We hope you're joining us at Curio, but if you're not, we hope that you do have a good time at whatever pre-release you attend, and that you enjoy the set as much as we do. Auntie, ooh, Blood Crypt. Oh, we got a double shock land pack. Wow. So nice. Figure Fable is our full art foil. Coming up on the last half of the last box. Seen a whole bunch of stuff today. I feel like we've opened mostly everything, but there are probably a few that we did not get to see. Seer, Spell Snare, Good Nap, right? Deepwing Navigator, Impulsivity, Rhyme Fang Torque, High Perfect Markant, and Gloom Ripper. Evolving Wilds. Vigil Adherence, Reaping Willow, Morkant's Loyalists, and a Mountain. Got Bloodline Bidding, Sinister Gnarlback, Taster of Wares, Mirror Mind Crown, and Champions of the Shoal. Fruit. Bark of Doran, Silvergale Mentor, Doondalin Weaver, Celestial Reunion, Puka's Covenant, Slumbering Walker, Celestial Reunion in the Fancy, and then Formidable Speaker in the Extended Art Foil. We'll have to see what that one does. I have a feeling that, because Fauna Shaman was good, I feel that that card will do quite okay. Plus, it also untaps another permanent. So it can definitely be good. Especially now that we have Glamourmite, which is similar to Pestamite. And we all know how wonderful that card was. Eclipsed Elf, Boggart Mischief. Right, moving along. Got a Kinscar Sentry, Rain-Slicked Copse, Dawnhand Descendant, Grub, and a Hollowed Fountain, this time in foil. Very pretty. 2 more packs to go. Thoughtless Lieutenant, and a Swamp. I got a foil Oko. Very pretty. For 3 mana, I'm hoping he's very strong. We'll see. Last 3 mana one was a big one. Sapling Nursery, Temple Garden, and Riss Evermore. Alright, it's our final collector pack. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Hope this has been enjoyable and relaxing for you to watch. Hopefully you have just as good a luck, if not better than ours. If you are on the chase, we wish you nothing but the best of luck in your desire to acquire the serialized card. Sonar, Grave Venerations, Mornsong Aria, Catharsis, and a Dolmen Gate as our final foil. Alright,